Welcome back to the Anchor Designs Workshop. Today we are going to be talking about how I organise myself and my Myford lathe. Let's get started. I'm going to start this video by saying this is a video about how I organise and what I have done to my lathe. This is not a video of what you should do to your lathe. It's yours. Do whatever you like with it. This is a video about what I've done and maybe kind of help someone else out there. I'm part of the Myford community. I kind of see posts going on forums and Facebook pages about what people are doing and looking for ideas. And I really like them. So I have kind of done what I like to do, and to make it a bit easier for me in the future, I'm going to make a video for those people. So you will be familiar with this kind of lathe, probably. And I'm going to bring you in closer up before we get too much into the detail of the video. So this was Mark 1 that I made about 16 months ago off the top of my head. And this is when I started off in a workshop that I was renting. I went from making everything myself out of wood and having a wooden shelf and a wooden backdrop, and that's what I first started out with my second Myford that I had roughly around 6 years ago. And my next workshop, where I had my previous lathe to this, a little bit complicated this, a little bit long and boring, sorry. I was in a workshop that I was renting and I wasn't allowed to drill holes into the wall. And this was a freestanding tool board / splash guard for my Myford lathe. So you'd have, I designed this out of 1.5 stainless steel. You'd have your T37 tool holders here. You'd have things like, you know, there's my chuck key. There's my chuck key for the chuck, and there was a little shelf onto here, and of course I've got the lovely Myford logo on here, and it has worked really, really well for me. As things have developed and I have developed and I've learnt more, and I'm wanting to do more, I have changed this, and I've designed kind of a new version of this, a little bit different for what I'm doing now. So this is mainly a video of what I've designed, what I have, and it might give you some inspirations to what you guys might want to do. So start off with, this has taken probably 2 to 3 years to kind of really think about and what I want out of the tool board, what I use, what I don't use, as well as when I first started I had very little tooling. So I've kind of built tooling as I kind of go along over around 6 to 7 years of ownership of a Myford ML7. So this section here is for Morse Taper 2 tooling. I've got some die holders that are stored away, but majority of the stuff that I do at the minute, just to make myself a little bit quicker, is I use a center drill, then I use like a pilot drill, then I use the actual size drill while there's nothing in here, then I countersink, then I might support it while I'm doing some tapping. So I've kind of gone from this step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and all of these chucks I bought second hand, but I always look for me personally, I always look for Jacobs Morse Taper 2 number 34, because all the chuck keys are all the same. It's a bit weird, a bit OCD, I really know that, and it just works for me, and they're all the same, and they go into the machines fine. I know the fit, I know the work, and how to fix them, and I've got some bits for them. I use my calipers, and I feel that this is a good place to put them. And I sometimes use a square if I'm just doing a double square is my preference. I'll put something in the chuck, I'll mark it in, I'll get my tool in there, and I'll line that off. So I've made myself a little slot here. A 4mm Allen key is what I use for the T37 tool holders. And I've got chuck keys for my 125mm, 100mm, and my 4-jaw chuck here. Very, very standard, straightforward. And I've also designed a slot into here that if I'm struggling to get it in the hole, which I haven't so far, I can actually access and get to it. So I get questioned about this a heck of a lot, which is you're on a Halford's tool cabinet. These were a few years ago. These were with a trade card £200. Now they're a ridiculous amount of money, so I'm not, you know, luckily I bought mine when these are cheap. I had the original Myford cabinet. I detest them. I really hate them. I know there's benefits. I know they're very rigid and very, very solid. I don't like them. I couldn't put all the tooling and my meteorology equipment in there. So I found that these 36-inch cabinets were more than adequate, and the weight load at the time was absolutely fine for a Myford. Now, a Myford, a bog standard ML7, is roughly, I want to say like 90 to 100 kg, depending on bells and whistles. And I think these were capable at the time of around 330 kg. I think now they've re-engineered them and under-engineered them, whatever you want to call it, reverse engineered them. So now I think they're only a quarter of a ton of the actual load. And each drawer when I bought this was 30 kg per drawer, which was more than enough for the type of tooling. Under here, so you can see I can get my finger under the actual stainless steel drip tray that I had made, is a 15mm solid plate that goes from this point here to roughly here, and this creates a kind of a really solid foundation that the Myford sits on. And it's extremely solid, it takes out a lot of the vibration, and it was at the time when steel wasn't ridiculous. So it's a nice big chunky plate that sits under the drip tray. Also helps me level and flatten and mainly the vibration out of it. And if you kind of looked at my last video, this is a new lathe to me. So I've only just had this tri-lever for around a month now. I swapped it for my last lathe that I had. The box section pieces here came with the lathe. They're just ideal for moving and transporting them. You can put a great big bar in between and you can get kind of 2-3 blokes on here to move everything around. These aren't staying, so please don't leave a comment of how awful these are. I'm fully aware, it was just how it came at the time. More organisation, kind of filter back onto the video. I found like your mum's old baking trays fit under the lathe pretty well. This is a good size that you can buy from the range. It's just like the square ones, and these work without anything under the lathe to raise up the legs. So these, it's quite nice just to have that there. Another really good tip, especially if you do lots of mild steel work, is buying one of these, which is made by Evolution. They make the fancy chop saws and those type of things. And this is really good, especially if you've got a stainless steel tray, which I know is a little bit flashy. But this has been brilliant for me, that I can just kind of get everything up. Oh, there's my boat. My rear tool post boat. So the toolbox itself, now usually when I haven't just moved the lathe, I actually get a toe jack or a scissor jack, whatever, and I jack this up. At the minute it's on the casters and there's a little bit of a wobbly do happening at the minute. But usually I jack it up ever so slightly off the floor, it's not on the casters, and it's on some really solid big blocks of hardwood. That's why you can see it moving a little bit. Now, these toolboxes have changed a little bit. I cannot say if the brand new ones that you can buy today from Halford are going to fit exactly the same or work or feel the same, whatever. I don't know, because things evolve and change. But this isn't as organised as what it usually is. But these trays you can buy for roughly around 80p, and they are proudly made in Britain. And this is the size, so it's 25 by 11 centimetres, and these kind of nest all together, and it can kind of make, you know, your tool organisation a little bit better. Mine's in a bit of a mess, but it's better than it used to. I haven't done it on all of them because I've got things like, you know, attachments and my measuring equipment in here, but it makes life a hell of a lot easier again to get to things and get access to things, and you know, I need this, I need that. And again, it doesn't take up that much room, and I've now got a turning section of the workshop that I know that everything is in here and everything that I need. So very, very quickly, I'm going to talk just about lighting and what I like for lighting the lathe. Now, these are the fancy string lights, and the only reason why they're here is because they look quite nice in the background of the video. These are kind of the strip, it's not the connectable LED strips that you can buy. They're really not great for bright lighting. They're just, these ones here, they're just not great, but they're ideal because they don't reflect off the shiny surfaces for videos and this type. If this was too bright, you would get like sparkly looking effect from the videos, but that doesn't happen because I've deliberately fitted these. The string lights that you see here are not very good, but these lights that are currently on offer at Screwfix are under cabinet lighting, and I don't kind of like a harsh bright light, but these were on offer at about 700. They're 900 millimeters long, 3 feet, but they are an under cabinet light that's not too bright, because you don't want that strobe effect when you're turning, whereas these long lights, I'll leave a link to them in the description, but yeah, under cabinet lighting, they are linkable as well. There is a little port and cable that you can continue round, but I don't want a floodlight blinding me, but it just gives a nicer light to work with. And of course the camera is compensating for how bright it actually is, but it's little things like the light reflects on the stainless steel drip tray, and it just kind of, I struggle to see in the dark. That's what I'm going to say. And especially you get a lot of shadows when you're turning, and it puts you off and it does weird things. Now, the reason why I'm getting rid of this, where I'm putting it to one side, is because I can now screw things onto my wall, because it's my wall. This is fine, but what I typically found is that it would kind of move and flop a little bit. I could cut the sides off and I could drill some holes and put that in there. But I've kind of moved on from this generation now because I'm doing different turning. I've learned more, and I've thought of something better. So that's why I'm getting rid of this. I'm putting it to the side, and it's a nice little memento. Someone should really clear that up. Beautiful. So there we have all the tool holders in. We have what I use. I can get to things. Everything has been spaced out how I want it. The reason why I've done this doesn't need to be as high as this. This doesn't need to be a low. It's very extravagant for what it actually needs to be. I like this because I can wipe it, so as dust and things happen around the workshop, I can blow it and it's not going to fall apart, or paint's not going to fall off it. I made it out of stainless because I feel it's the most stable. It's not going to rust, it's not going to kind of spread anything nasty. I know it's not ideal. It's fine. I can still get to my calipers okay, and I've kind of made sure as best as I can that you know, the delicate stuff is more over here. This is nice and easy. I've got space for the chuck keys. This slot, which I didn't know if I'd like it or not, is great because my eye level here, which I'll try and show you, I can see the holes. Now the holes at the top I think are 20mm just for a better clearance, and the lower holes, so the top I think 18 and the lower are 20mm, just so I've got, you know, you don't have to directly plunge it in there. I have got some clearance that I can kind of get to it. Again, wipeable. Yeah, it's like leather seats in a car when you've taken your nan out for lunch. Wipeable, it's important. So that's my kind of eye level here, and as you can see I can look at the hole. I'm not trying to, you know, try and get it into gear on like an old Volkswagen Beetle. I can just see the hole if I need to, drop it into place, and it's still got, I like a little bit of tolerance. This is getting really, really kind of anal about things here, but I don't want it super tight, so I've made that if I grab it, I can grab and go. Now it's got a taper on it, it's got an adapter, but if it's smooth, then I can, yeah, it's getting really boring now. You get the idea. So holes for the chuck keys, depending on what I want to do. All these are standardised. These are just like the tools that I use most often, to be honest, and they're all out the way. And what it also means is I've got room for a digital readout. So I know off camera it doesn't look that I don't know, it doesn't look exciting. It's not like mirror polish, but there's just no reason for it to be mirror polished. It's all at one level, so I know where things are. I designed things to have like numbers in here and like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, I just think it's pointless, because if you're using one of these, you're going to take the one that you've just taken out into the hole that's already there. So this is it. This is me trying to get a little bit more organised and a little bit settled in, if that's the right word, settled into this workshop and settled in using this lathe and doing more with it, and kind of investing in kind of myself to be more organised. Again, 5 points of being tidy and all that. This is a really expensive way of doing something that you could do with a bit of plywood. There's no question about it. It is completely overdone for what is needed. It's very difficult to manufacture because the special tooling that you need to get such a deep throat to actually form this on a press, which I'll show you some details of it now. You don't need this. Nobody needs this for organising your basic tooling. I've done this because I wanted to. I designed it, I liked it, I spent this was probably draft 4 or 5 before I'd actually finished and got on with it. And I'm really happy with it because I took the time. It took a long time for me to get to this version because it was really expensive to make. This was around £150 to actually manufacture and produce. But it's something that I wanted, again, for me, to keep me organised, to look after the tooling that I've got. And I'm going to have a Myford for a long time, I feel. I'm really happy with what I've got now. So I thought, well, let's kind of invest and tidy up, if you know what I mean. If you're a bit weird like me, and you would be interested in something like this, it would be a very new venture for me to try and sell something like this. If you're interested in the old one, the old design that I had, which is designed to be made at home, so everything is bent and it's got these soft, what we call soft folds in here, which are designed to be able to clamp a bit of wood to it and then fold these round. You don't need a very expensive bending machine, a big press. Then also leave a comment, because these are also, if you don't mind me saying so myself, quite a good design. I did get a lot of comments that, of course, this is for me personal and I would not sell anything with this logo on it. This is pure and simply to celebrate my love for Myford. Sounds a bit weird, that. So if you were interested in this version, it would not have the Myford on here, and this is 1.5mm instead of that, which is 2mm stainless, and this is purely so you can actually bend it, because 2mm is extremely strong and perhaps too strong. So this is me sharing what I've done with my lathe and some kind of little organisation tips that might help you guys out. So things like the toolboxes and the little trays and the magnetic kind of swarf picker-upper. You can get a swarf brush as well, which is really expensive. I just drag it across the floor and it's fine. Again, this video is not to tell you how to do something or how to organise your lathe. It's your lathe. This is just what I've done. Maybe gives you kind of, that's a good idea, James. You know, I'll give it a go. If you've got something as well that you want to share with everybody else, then leave a comment, hit me up. And if you enjoyed this video, then I'm really pleased. Thank you. And consider subscribing. And on that note, this has been my lathe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. I don't know what this stuff is, whatever they used to write on here, but I cannot get it off. I mean, I'm using brake cleaner before someone comments. This is not a Myford product. This is me owning a sticker machine. Nothing to do with Myford, just a bloke in his shed. Looks nice though, doesn't it? Thanks for watching.